Hey guys, thank you very much for watching this video. Today I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of how I think it is the best of creating a case study, what is the best structure, and I'm going to give you some reasoning as well. Why do I think this is one of the best structures? You're gonna learn a lot during this video. So please put your phone away. This is going to be around 15-16 minutes of videos. I would like to ask you to put this video on a bigger screen, okay? Focus here because this is going to be awesome, alright? So let's just jump really quickly into it. First of all, this whole idea for this video is you guys have a lot of questions about case study structures and what are the elements which we should include in there. There is a lot of myths around it, so I was thinking that why wouldn't we just, break it down. First of all, I found this cool wireframe from Sharon and Kim, who is also a designer YouTuber. I really like her content. I would highly recommend checking her out. And she was basically setting up this wireframe where she was basically going through other designers' portfolios, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. But I wanted to make also a whole, basically a case study wireframe, a case study template, which you guys can look at, and I wanted to also give some more reasoning on why do we designers do what we are doing, and also what are the important elements which you should pay attention whenever you are creating your case study, and how does a recruiter or HR person thinks about your case study, right? Whenever you are puzzled about the video, feel free to pause the video and then you can read the right hand side, because I was collecting really cool, really important information there. So feel free whenever you would like to read it. Alright, without any further ado, let's just jump in. Our first section for our case study is going to be the context of the website, right? Because no matter who's going to come to your website, we want to give them a quick context of what's happening, what are they looking at. And as I previously mentioned many times, recruiters and basically anyone going to look at mainly images, visuals, UI designs, and titles, and that's it. Basically, if this would be your case study, this is I would say middle-long case study, right? I'm literally showing you real time what they're going to do. They're going to click on the case study, then swipe, okay, UI, okay, headlines, okay, numbers, yeah, more numbers, more bolded titles, more designs, etc. Oh my god, that's really nice. Okay, that's even better. Oh my god, UI design, that's so cool. Then they're going to look at the features, more UI. They probably won't click on the prototype here, but it's really nice to have it here. And also then they probably not even going to get to the end of your case study. So yeah, maybe it seemed a little bit short, but imagine for a recruiter, they have 1 minute to check your case study. And as you can imagine, if they have only 1 minute, they're going to choose only the best of the best. And if they notice any red flags, any beginner mistakes during your case study, they might just going to reject you because they just seen a beginner mistake. So these are the mistakes which I'm going to highlight as well, and trying to help you guys to create your first case studies as best as possible, right? So first of all, the context. Whenever you're creating your case study, start with a huge ass visual where you're showcasing a lot of screens. We wanna sort of showcase that we made a lot of screens. And even if you made only a few screens, you can definitely duplicate and use more of your app screens. Then we are going to explain what was the duration of the project, what was your role, what tools, and what was the scope for the project. And also within the context, we would like to explain more about what is this whole project is about, right? Why did we start it? What was the goal? And what was the problem? Why we started this whole journey, right? And then we're going to give also a quick teaser of the final application. Again, don't forget it, we are not going into details. We are just giving a teaser, when you're seeing a trailer of a movie. This is what we are doing. We're just teasing our really cool findings. And after we got the context, we're going to move forward to the research part, right? A lot of people messes it up that whenever they are talking about their research, it's really nice that you were using surveys, you were using competitive analysis, you were using your observation, whatever stakeholder interviews, whatever research method did you choose. Explain why did you choose it. Explain why this was your approach. Explain how this approach was helping your project. Because if you just say out in the blue that I made a survey questionnaire, I made 5 user interviews, I made a competitive analysis, definitely do those, choose those. But if you're doing those, be prepared to explain your reasoning as a designer. Never forget that. We are different from graphic designers and just general website designers because we are actually having thoughts and research and more like deeper ideas behind our design decisions. A graphic designer or like a website designer, they're going to get a brief and immediately they're going to jump into Figma and do their work. And that's fine. But we, UX designers, me and you, I'm looking at you right now, me and you, we have to conduct research. We have to think about the holistic business. We have to think about more parts of being of creating a project, rather than just the pretty visuals, rather than just the 3D animations, which you love a lot. I know what you're watching on Instagram. I know you, okay? But this is the boring ass part, which I know is not that nice, it's not that attractive, it's not as sexy as like creating the nice UI animations, but it's definitely the part why we are getting paid as designers. Because of these numbers, because we have more on the table, because we can offer more better solution by our research, by our thinking processes, okay? For the research, I also want to highlight that you don't have to describe everything which you did here. No one is going to read it. Just highlight the main points, the highlights of your research. You can just use a few interview sentences which you think was important for some reason. And again, lead with your titles. This is a really common problem which a lot of people make, that they use research and affinity diagram and ideations and final app screens or whatever title you give them. Stop that, okay? Think about what was the content and what was happening in that section and try to give a title which is sort of describing what happened in that section. Don't say research, don't say user interviews as title. I want you to think about what happened here, and I want you to give like a title which is sort of explaining what this was about. Because what we also want to do with our case study, we want to tell a story, right? I said it also many times. And every other designers who you're talking about, who you're talking to, they're going to say the same. We want to give a good user experience. And if you give a boring experience for the reader, for the recruiter, they're just going to disregard you. They won't care about your case study, all right? So try to be exciting, and you can do that by creating really good visuals, really good mockups, really good titles, interesting looking case study. Like for example, here this 3-column setup, for example, is definitely be much more interesting if I would just use a normal paragraph or a body text, right? So let's move on. You finish your research, and now we are getting to the point where you are diverging the diamond, right? We are in the first end of the first diamond. This is the part where we are starting to think about our solution. This is the part when in the previous step, while we are doing the research, we get our data points, we get the pain points, we concluded it, and now we would like to create like sort of like a features and sort of like a direction for our application. This part is called Ideation. This is the section where we are going to have fun, right? This is the parts where we are going to use like brainstorming, affinity diagrams, trace aids, whatever, card sorting, up to you. I don't care. The point is that you get to a conclusion of like which features, which flows, which MVP pages or screens you want to create. This is the part where you are going to finalize what is going to be in the application after the research. Then we're going to move forward to the wireframing, then the designing part. Here also like a really common mistake, and I was telling you about it a lot in my Instagram posts. Don't just jump into the Figma and create wireframes immediately. I know it seems tempting. I know you want to design. I know that's why you became a designer, to design, right? Makes sense. I understand it. I've been there. I've been through that. I've been in the same situation as you are. But don't forget that if you jump into Figma, you're going to think about a lot of unnecessary things at the moment. Grab a piece of paper and start sketching out ideas, or hopefully you can do this also in the ideation phase, when by the end of the ideation phase you're going to have some sketches. Don't forget that, because if you jump immediately to Figma without putting much thought into your flows and screens, you're going to waste a lot of your time, and you're going to start over and over with your design because you're just trying to figure out what you are doing. But if you do it on paper, it takes 15 to 20 minutes. If you do it in Figma, it takes 3 to 4 hours, and you get to the same conclusion. So that's why start on paper, just at least think about it on a high level, sketch it out on paper, then you can move to the Figma page, and then you can start creating your wireframe. This is what we are going to do here, right? After you have your MVP features or whatever flows you are creating, I want you to gather a few of your friends, family members, classmates, whoever is close to you, colleagues, friends, boyfriend, girlfriend, grandmother, whoever is close to you, ask them to test your flow. You have to create a prototype which is testable, and you have to test it with them. And don't skip this part, because first of all, this is one of the best parts of being a designer, that you think you made a really good app solution, and now a lot of random people are going to say it otherwise. And probably they are right, because they don't have a blind spot like you are for your design. Test your designs, because you're gonna find out that you actually missed a lot of really critical points. And the more people you do it with, the better. Usually we say at least 5 to 10 people test it. If you don't have that many time, at least 3 person, alright? And after you test it, you're going to be able to highlight what could be improved on your design. And this is something which looks really, really attractive in your case study, because it shows that you were actually, first of all, testing, you were actually doing your job, UX designing. But secondly, you are humble enough to recognize your own mistakes, and you can improve on that, and you can improve by user feedback. That is our job. We are getting feedback a lot of times, and most times in our job, getting feedback doesn't feel good. You spend a lot of time on your design, you think this is one of the best things ever, and then a lot of random people who are not even designers going to tell you otherwise, like going to say really negative, bad things about your design. It feels bad. I've been there. This is our daily experience as designers. But in order to improve your design, you have to ask for feedback, and basically as long as the user is somewhat connected to your application, this feedback works. And also in your case study, we want to show that you are thinking that way. This is how a designer is expected to think, all right? And this is what you can do by doing user testing on your wireframes. After you did your user testings, you can start going about creating the UI. It's ideal to group the UI elements. I wouldn't spend too much time here, so just focus on the basics. You are not expected to build up like a whole design system, but I would just try to group them and sort of like showcase that you are actually aware of like different components, auto layouts and such, how to create accessible design for the future, how to use style guides and such. Alright, these are also important. And eventually, we're going to get to the final designs, the final UI, where you can showcase basically the features, the final hi-fi design, and talk about the features. And then we get here a really cool part where you can basically separate yourself from designers to like really, really good junior designers. And you can do that by, first of all, the previous prototype which you created for your application or website or whatever this tool you were creating or designing, you're going to create a prototype for it. You're also going to link this prototype to your Figma file, but not only the prototype, you're also going to link your whole Figma file. You're going to share it here. I mean, there is a new monetization model in Figma, so I'm not sure how sharing is working right now, but if it's possible, I think if you move your file into the Teams project, then you can share your file. You can also just give access to view, but definitely link it here as well. Not only your prototype, but also link here your full design file. Why it is crucial? It showcases honesty and transparency from your end. You are showcasing that you have nothing to hide, and a lot of senior designer are going to be really happy to look at basically how you are structuring file, how you are grouping elements, how you are organizing your design files. Obviously, it requires you to think a little bit about how you are using your design files, but it's definitely like a huge step up from most of the designers who are not even going to have like a prototype, they're just going to have a few screenshots from their application. And eventually, again, just showcasing how humble you are. During the closing section, it's advised to basically talk a little bit about your key learnings. What would you have done differently if you started again? What was the main challenges? How would you do it differently if you started again? Etc. Just talk about, summarize the project and think about how you could make it better, and then put it in one paragraph. Then you are going to prompt your next project, and eventually don't forget to put like a clear call to action at the end of your website. We want people to understand how to get in touch with you. So basically this was the breakdown of this case study. I really hope you enjoyed it and you learned something. If you want to learn more about basically how to get hired in UX design in 2024, especially when there is like so many people on the market and the market is so tough, and literally I also feel it, guys. I know that's why I'm making these videos, because I know they are helpful and I know that lots of people like you wants to become designers. I have a Skool group which is linked down below this video where you can join us, where we are having weekly Q&A calls. I'm sharing more resources, like for example, this whole list of basically every UX website which I ever found. You can just stop the video and you can just copy it if you wanted to. I'm also sharing like CV templates, basically all the most important interview questions and answer which I gathered. We are having different checklists, reading list, and we are also having like weekly Q&A calls and portfolio reviews. And just again, when you are creating your portfolio, come back to this video, check it, try to understand what I was describing for you, because basically this structure is going to work no matter what. There is also like a few extra touches here and there which I didn't really go that deep into it, but this structure is like generally working. I would also advise you to go to cofolios.com, uxportfolios.com, you go to framer/templates.com and just look for inspirations, because this is a really basic structure, and if you follow something like this and you do something like this, you're definitely going to stand out from the designers who are hosting their websites on Behance, who are only going to have like 1/3 of this information. And I just want to highlight again, don't go too deep with this information, but showcase what is relevant and what is important, okay? You don't want to bore people with like a lot of copy. No one's going to read it, right? Be realistic, no one is going to read it. But still, you have to have it. See you in the next video. Please follow this guide. Take care. Bye.